When you had the hurricanes in '04 and '05, you had the market really deteriorate. A lot of people went on to Citizens. The problem with that is that, you know, if you have all these people on it, Citizens may not be solvent to be able to handle that. You saw a decrease in Citizens when we had that 10 years with no hurricanes, but as the hurricanes kicked up, some of those companies that came into Florida 10, 15 years ago, they kind of dropped by the wayside. They were not capitalized well enough, and so you started to have more people on. So we got up to the state 1.3 million Citizens policies, which, you know, those rates are not necessarily actuarially sound all the time. The idea that if there was a catastrophic storm, could Citizens do all that? And probably not, right? I mean, that was kind of our concern with it all along. And the problem is Citizens has a lot of power to assess Floridians writ large, and so you actually could be assessed on your own private policy having nothing to do with Citizens by Citizens if they need to do it. So there's a lot of reasons why we didn't want to see that happen to people throughout Florida. But what's happened now, as the market has gotten better, as more companies have come in, Citizens went from 1.3 million, now it's under 400,000 throughout the state of Florida. And, you know, some people said, well, we shouldn't have a Citizens. Well, look, in a perfect world, but I don't know that all of those homes would get private offers to do, especially in like Monroe County, right? I mean, it's a tougher situation. So Citizens, we believe now, given that they were collecting all this premiums for so many years at much higher levels, now that they have less exposure, you know, we're like, okay, well, what are you going to do to be able to bring that back? And Mike Jaworski at the insurance office, he's got way more authority over Citizens, given its relationship to the state of Florida, than he would over just a private company. And so Citizens had submitted, I guess December, last month, they submitted a proposal, kind of their request for going forward. And, you know, honestly, it was milquetoast. It was maybe some very modest reductions, but really didn't fully capitalize on the momentum in order to deliver wins for the policyholders. And that's really what it's all about. That's why we're doing all this stuff. And so what Mike and his agency did is, you know, they have not approved that request the way it was done, and instead they basically tweaked it to be able to produce historic rate decreases for Citizens insurance customers in the state of Florida. And so we have under 400,000 policies. That is 50% less than like a year ago. Huge decline, lowest number of policies in 14 years. And, you know, if you look at other states that have these things, they're going in the opposite direction. So it's good. So we're in a great position to be able to really put the thumb on the scale to make a difference for people. And so that's what Mike has done with his office. And so today we are happy to announce historic reductions, particularly for South Florida policyholders, including Monroe County. So the vast majority of Citizens policyholders will receive a significant reduction. The statewide average will be 8.7% reduction. Of those, over 150,000 will see their rights drop by more than 10%. Here in South Florida, Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, average reduction will be 13.4%, as this area was the center of the litigation abuses. Right here in Broward, 27,000 homeowners, average reduction 14.1%. Miami-Dade, 42,000 homeowners seeing an average reduction of 14%. Palm Beach, 26,000 homeowners, average reduction 11.9%. Monroe County, so you have Monroe, you have kind of normal, and then some have wind only. So of the homes, the 1,000 homes that have full coverage, even in Monroe County, 11.3% reduction for those homes. And if you have wind only, you may see a reduction, but you will not see an increase. They will be no coverage, and that'll be for the renewals coming in this spring. If you look at like the Tampa Bay area, where you obviously had issues with both Helene and with Milton, you'll see reductions between 5 and 7% on average. And, you know, we'll see kind of how this works as they rebuild some of these areas. I mean, I know they've done a lot of rebuilding, but as they're more fortified, they may even qualify for lower rates. So you've never really seen, I don't think, rate reductions, certainly with Citizens at this level, any time in modern memory that anyone can talk about. This, again, this was not necessarily what Citizens had initially proposed. I think Mike really went in with his team and said, okay, you know, they've lost almost 1 million policies. They were getting all those premiums for all those policies. Now their exposure's less. You're seeing in these 3 counties much less litigation abuse than you had seen previously. We got to think a little bit bigger here. And so these really big reductions of 14.1, 14%, and 11.9 in Dade, Broward, and Palm Beach, I mean, those are going to be really, really meaningful for an awful lot of people. So, and then the other kind of smaller issue, not smaller, it's a big issue, but it probably affects smaller, is we have also something called surplus lines. Now, that is not done by the insurance office. It's kind of just, you know, if you want it. And so the regulatory framework is a little bit different. But for business policies, surplus lines are now down 33% in Florida, and residential surplus lines are down 15%. And that's new numbers that are coming in that I think is indicative of, you know, these reforms being effective. So I want to thank Mike for what he did and his team, because, you know, it's like, look, Citizens is something that it's just a different relationship than we would have with like a private business somewhere, right? It's the state's insurer of last resort. You know, I think we have the right to insist that Citizens is doing all it can to bring relief to its customers. They weren't in a position to do that, admittedly, a couple years ago. I mean, we were in a much more difficult environment. But since these reforms have really stabilized things, man, pass on the savings to these folks. And so this will be a really, really big deal. And I'm happy to be able to be here to announce it. And Mike, you want to add some color? Come on up.